when I was really young and first starting out, I had a producer tell me that as a woman in music, if I didn't make it by 27, I was done. There's no timeline. And I think especially for women in music, it can be really difficult because there's a lot of men who want to say like, oh, you have to achieve this by X age or you're done. But it's like success doesn't have a timeline. It's also not linear. Hey, what's up? It's Luxtides, and this is SoundAdvice.
You're Brooklyn based. I know we were talking about it. How has New York scene and Brooklyn scene specifically impacted your artistic style as an artist?
Ooh, I love that question. I've always lived in New York. I'm from upstate New York. I went to school in the city, and then I ended up moving to Brooklyn. I just love the energy here, like the chaos. I know it's not for everyone, but there's something for me like walking out of my apartment and just being in it. And there's like so many different people here, people from all over the world. I feel like I meet the most interesting people. I also love, weirdly, I love the subway, and I love like writing lyrics on the subway. That's always been a thing for me, or ending a session and listening back to a demo from that day. Like there's just something very zen about it for me. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What's the best line, your favorite subway line?
Oh my God, what a great question. I wrote one of my first solo songs that I released years ago now called Fragile. I wrote the chorus on the subway. What are the lyrics? Fragile, you make me so tragic, somehow you're a habit. Yeah, that's all I remember at this moment. But
you heard it here, get a
lyrics.
Metro Pass, become a songwriter.
Yes.
I love that. I feel like specifically New York's EDM, house, techno scene has grown and evolved so much over the last 6 years.
Yep.
And also the community is so strong and like close-knit. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that, and have you been able to find your community here?
Absolutely. I didn't start out in dance music. I was in a folk pop band years ago called Oh Honey. So I came from a very different world, but I ended up kind of falling into EDM by accident, and I absolutely love it. The community is so welcoming, the fans, the other songwriters. I've met so many incredible female top-liners, and many of them live in Brooklyn, Jersey, and I work with them all the time. And it's just so nice to have like other women who we all lift each other up, and we all work together and support each other. There's always shows. I live down the street from Brooklyn Mirage, which is so fun in the summer. I'm close to Elsewhere. There's some great venues. It's the best here.
It's the best. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we were catching up. You talked about one of your big moments was when you were featured as a vocalist with David Guetta and Afrojack, and that also ended up being Grammy nominated.
Yeah, it did.
Can you talk a little bit about that moment, how you were introduced with the opportunity, when you got the news, and also...
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2019, I received a demo of the song. It was originally written and sung by Ellie Goulding, and they were looking for another vocalist on the song that sounded similar. So I ended up cutting the vocal, being like, I'll probably never hear back. And then they liked my voice and brought me onto the project. I ended up recording the vocal with Ku Carell, who's like a super famous, super successful vocal producer. Working with him was incredible. And then the song came out in 2021, and that year it ended up getting nominated for Best Dance Record. And so we went to the Grammys in the next year, 2022. It was crazy. Yeah, it was in Vegas. It was like I was only there for less than 48 hours, probably. Such a whirlwind, but so cool.
I want to talk a little bit about the music business side of you as an artist. The music business side, the royalties landscape can be really complex and intimidating.
Yes.
What is some advice you have for artists that are struggling to figure that out?
Absolutely.
And where did you start, and how did you learn?
Advice would be sign up with SoundExchange, because there's so many royalties that we can't collect ourselves. That's why you guys exist, to collect them for us. it's hard because I think within music it's very fragmented. You have your publishing royalties, which are coming in through ASCAP or BMI, and then your SoundExchange, and then you've got royalties coming in from a label, and it's all these different avenues, and it can be, I think, confusing for especially young artists who are starting out. It's helpful, talk to people who have been doing it, ask them for help, like DM me. I'm happy to chat like with whoever about it. But it's good. It's important to stay on top of it to make sure that you're getting all the money that's owed to you.
I feel like another thing you've also explored, they did a bit of workshops in this camp too this week is Sync.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Sync and how that's been helpful in terms of monetizing your music?
Absolutely. So with my old band Oh Honey, Sync was kind of our bread and butter for a long time. Our first big opportunity that we had was Leah Michelle covered our song Be Okay on Glee.
Stop it.
Which was it was Leah Michelle and Naya Rivera. It was really, really cool. And that was kind of our first big TV moment, and we were able to get a lot more syncs after that. We had some big movie trailers, Finding Dory trailer, Me Before You. We had an Android commercial, Chili's commercial, which was very cool. Sync is just it's exposure, so I think that really helped kind of propel us along too, because the reach is huge. It's television, and you're reaching more people than you would maybe through like radio or streaming. And yeah, there's just that's where the money is.
One thing that you mentioned earlier was that shift that you had from your band where you were indie, pop, rock, alt, and you switched over to EDM producers. You talked a little bit about that genre switch, but also the lifestyle switch. Can you share a little more?
With Oh Honey, I was touring for a couple of years straight, just like the only girl holding it down in a van with like 6 or 7 dudes like on the road. It was really cool. It was a really, really incredible time. Playing shows every night. We toured with The Fray, we toured with James Blunt, Ingrid Michaelson. Really a lot of fun, but tiring, exhausting. It's a hard lifestyle, you're not sleeping a lot. And so now that I've pivoted into the dance music space, I'm mainly working from home. So I either do sessions, virtual sessions like through Zoom or in person. And then it's really nice because I'm able to write the songs, I can sing them, and then I can come home and record the vocal and vocal produce for myself, which I really love. And I can sleep in my own bed at the end of the day.
So important.
Yeah.
One last question. What is the best or worst piece of advice that you've received so far in your career?
Best or worst? Okay, well, the worst, when I was really young and first starting out, I had a producer tell me that as a woman in music, if I didn't make it by 27, I was done. And I think maybe I was 17 when he said this to me, and it really stuck with me, and it was something that was always in the back of my mind. And I signed a record deal at 24, and then I was dropped by 26, and I was like, oh no, I guess this is it. Like, it was true, right? I didn't make it. But then when Hero came out and ended up getting nominated for Grammy, I was 31, and I was like, all right, he was wrong.
Hell yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. There's no timeline. And I think especially for women in music, it can be really difficult because there's a lot of men who want to say like, oh, you have to achieve this by X age or you're done. But it's like success doesn't have a timeline. It's also not linear. And that, I would say, is like my best piece of advice. There's so many ups and downs as an artist. I think it's really important to take opportunities that come to you and say yes. Like, even if it's something you're not familiar with or it feels maybe like it's out of your wheelhouse, say yes, because you don't know, and you could love it, you could be great at it. So yeah, don't be afraid to pivot.